All right, back to this question of signs. When? And that's what the disciples asked. When Jesus said, hey, this temple is coming down, folks. He's talking to Peter, James, and John, and Andrew. All right? He says, the temple is coming down. And they said, when Jesus told them, there's not going to be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down, okay? When Jesus told them that, they said, tell us, Master, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? So they knew that whatever Jesus was talking about, that is the destruction of the temple, they knew that they were to associate it with what? The signs will tell us, when shall be these things, and what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And that's what that word world, some of your translation, King James Version uses world, okay? Now, here's the thing. If they were wrong about associating his coming and the end of the age with the destruction of Jerusalem, or just the destruction of the temple, you would think that Jesus would have corrected them. But if you read the whole context of Matthew 24 and 25, it's called the Olivet Discourse. If you read the whole context, Jesus never once, not once, does he correct them. They simply ask the question, tell us, Master, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? They knew that when Jesus spoke about the destruction of the temple, he was referring to his coming and the end of the age. It's not the end of the world. And I want to propose to you that he was speaking about the end of the Jewish age. That is the end of the Old Covenant economy, the Old Covenant of Moses. All right? Now some people say, well, wait a minute, the Old Covenant, come on, that ended at the cross. It began to end. You say, oh, come on, that's a jargon meant to confuse us. No, if you go to Hebrews chapter 8, verse 13, he says, now in that he says a new covenant, he has made the first obsolete. Now that which is decaying and waxing old is about to vanish away. Okay, so he's contrasting the old and new covenants, and Hebrews was written sometime in the 60s, right? Not the 1960s, but the 60s of the first century. And he says it's about to vanish away. The old is about to vanish away. The cross was the beginning. That was the culminating point, that or the one of the decisive events that began the end of the old covenant. But it was the destruction of the temple that showed the old covenant to be completely done away and verified the words of Jesus. And that's essential to understand here. So, the disciples say, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Jesus answered and said, take heed that no man deceive you. He's talking to Peter, James, Andrew, and John. He says, many are going to come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Now, let's stop there. Jesus starts to answer. He doesn't correct them. They said, when and what shall be the signs of your coming? Your coming. And Jesus says this, many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ. Now, remember, it's Peter, James, John, and Andrew. Well, look at what John says. You say, okay, that's going to be a sign. One of the clear signs is going to be the appearance of false Christ. Now, some people would say, man, that's so true. Look at today. There's so many false Christs. There's the Jim Joneses, you know. They're the Hale Bot people. And they're the David Koreshes out there, you know, basically taking people to these camps and giving them guns or feeding them Kool-Aid or following these comments that are flying by. Listen, you know as well as I do, there have been lots of people who have been predicting the end of the world, okay? They've been predicting the end of the world since the first century, really. But who was right? Jesus or the prophets of the 2nd century, 3rd century, all the way up to the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries? Who's right? Jesus and the apostles or our modern day prophecy experts? That's the question to ask. And if you're like me, you're probably sick and tired of people telling you that the end is near. You're sick and tired of people telling you that the end is about to happen and you might as well give up on all this stuff that's going on in the world. Give up on praying for politicians. Give up on protecting the environment. Give up on praying for those that are in authority. Give up on trying to figure out solutions for peace in the Middle East. Heck, it's all going to hell in a handbasket, so let's just eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we get raptured. There are a lot of people that are teaching that. And I'm here today to tell you that there is a great answer, a great solution to this problem of doom and gloom. That the Bible is very clear in telling us that when Jesus predicted the destruction of the temple and predicted that all these signs were going to take place, he really meant it and he told the truth. And the apostles in the New Testament told the truth. Okay? So, John is present with them. John is present. Jesus says to John, he's one of the four that were at least there, okay? Jesus said, "Take heed, John, that no man deceive you. Many are going to come in my name." How are you going to know? You, John, along with these other disciples, are asking the question. Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of your coming? Jesus says, he doesn't correct him, he says, "Take heed that no man deceive you, John. Many are going to come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and shall deceive many." Well, listen to what John has to say. Okay? Let's see what John has to say. In 1 John, of course, John, contrary to popular opinion, John is not addressing Gnosticism. He's really not. John is addressing the problem of Judaizing and the Pharisees. That's right. They denied that Jesus was the Christ, that he was the anointed one. Heck, Gentiles didn't know a whole lot about the anointed one. Come on, we're dealing with Meshiach, okay? Christos, Christ. They wanted to know who the Messiah was. Look at what we see in John chapter 1, verse 18. Remember, John was present with Jesus when Jesus said, "Take heed, John, that no man deceive you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and shall deceive many." Now watch this. We say, oh, there are lots of false Christs today in the 21st century. That proves that it's near. Well, look at what John says. Who's right? These guys saying the coming is near today or back then? "Little children, it is the last hour. And as you have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last hour." Well, how did he know this? Jesus said, look, disciples, you asked me the question, when is it going to come? And what shall be the sign of your coming? And Jesus says there are going to be many Antichrists. It's going to happen. John says, little children, it's already happened. There are many Antichrists. And this is how we know it's the last hour. It's not 2,000 years from now. It's about to happen. All right? Just as Jesus told us. And in our next study, we'll continue looking at some of these signs that prove that the end of the Old Covenant age was now.